And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I am sure the dust is settling after the last grand arena that you did. And now we are gearing up for 3 versus 3. And I wanted to kick out a lot of ideas. Now, this is not comprehensive. It's not every single team you could possibly come up with, of course. It's just the top 20 teams that I felt are the most synergistic, that are going to help you on either offense or defense. And I understand a lot of you aren't going to have every single composition, which is why I want to give at least 20 different compositions, so that way you can pick and choose from the ones you feel you can build for defense that you think will do well, and the ones you're most confident with on offense, so you can win your next grand arena. Now, before we go into the teams, I do want to say I am happy, at least, that now we're seeing a ton more diversity, at least on my leaderboard. We've got individuals still running the Triumvirate. We still have individuals running, of course, Revan, and Rebels are kind of making a comeback, as is JTR on my shard, because of C3PO. So kind of cool that there's a little bit more balance that's coming. I think that was the intention, of course, paper, rock, scissors. Now let's get into those top 20 teams. Now I'm going to explain them with basics, but if you're not sure how and why the composition works, you can leave them in the comments down below and I'll tell you. But most of these we're going to kind of breeze through, because most players who've been playing for a while should understand the basic concepts of these particular team comps. Let's get right into it. Now these are in no particular order. We're just going to go through the top 20 teams, and again, they can be used on offense or defense. And if you see a team comp that you can't build, well, there's 20 of them to choose from, and there's lots of other YouTubers making videos on the 3v3 as well. So one of my absolute favorites is going to be Bosk lead. Of course, you would need his Zeta with Jango and Boba Fett. Jango and Boba Fett are exceptionally difficult to deal with, because even when you kill them the first time, if by that time they're able to kill one of your characters, either one of them, they're going to end up getting their bounty hunter's resolve back and their protection back, especially if they have that Zeta. So this is an exceptionally difficult team to beat 3 versus 3. Now, a lot of people don't have Jango ready to go yet, but they have their Bosk ready to go. So this is a variant that's going to be basically just as tough, because Dengar is absolutely amazing going stealth. He's going to prevent your opponents from going stealth, and he is just extremely durable. And if you're one of those few that have Zeta'd Dengar, this would be an absolute nightmare team to deal with. Now, if you don't remember this team, thank your maker, because this was one of the worst compositions ever devised in Arena. It included the very first timeout team ever to be had. And the reason for this, if anyone is new enough they don't understand, is General Kenobi brings about an extra bit of durability with his leadership. So Jedi and Clones gain 30% max health and 70% defense. So now the whole team is more durable. In addition, check this out, when a clone uses a special ability, they gain a buff. So because Fives is technically a tank, he would be able to gain taunt for 1 turn by simply using his special, which he's going to use quite often and get that taunt, which will be extremely disruptive. In addition, General Kenobi can bring about a lot of countering because of the retribution. Not that there's a ton of damage. Now, this team is all about defense, and this is all about surviving for the period of time. 3 versus 3 is new and uncharted waters, and I don't know if we're going to have timeout teams available or not, but I don't know if any 3 characters are going to be able to beat this team in 5 minutes, provided that you don't leave all of your very best on offense. If you do, then yes, there are teams that can beat this, but if you're putting the majority of your solid teams on defense, this is going to be an absolute nightmare for you to deal with. In addition, Barriss is going to be able to heal. She's going to be able to provide that, if you have her Zeta, that health gain every time they get crit. And of course, Fives just shoots like a crazy man constantly, and then he puts speed down on his basic, so it slows the opposing team down. I think this is going to be a quiet favorite amongst a lot of people because of it requiring a meta team to take it down, and you can't really use DPS due to Barriss Offee. Now, I wanted to go into a team that a lot of people have as well, and that's Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader, and then Royal Guard is a tank. Now, really quick, if you're trying to devise your own team compositions because you don't have all the compositions we're showing, your basic summary is you need an attacker, you need a leader with a good leadership ability, and you need a tank. Now, sometimes your leader will be your damage dealer. We'll go over that more. You need a support character or another attacker, and then a tank to protect them. If you go on defense with no tanks, more than likely you're going to allow for people to walk over your team. So that's kind of the idea, a leader slash support, an attacker, and a tank, but sometimes your leader will be your attacker. In this case, he is. Emperor Palpatine is there for the stuns, the shock. He's there to revive. And the thing with Royal Guard and Emperor Palpatine is that the moment they think they've got your Emperor Palpatine killed, Royal Guard taunts. And then when they try and get done with Royal Guard and come back to Emperor Palpatine, he's healed himself. And in the meantime, you got Darth Vader there, who's really tanky, hard to kill, and can do a ton of damage. Now, this is a team people would probably use on offense, and the reason is this Empire squad is insane. They can cleanse every time on their turn. They've got an ability to cleanse with the leadership of Thrawn. Thrawn is just tanky, fast. He can fracture, which is one of the absolute best debuffs in the game. And you've got the ability to death mark once you kill someone on the other side, and then fracture them for an almost guaranteed insta-kill, as well as shore troopers there to taunt, take the heat off the other two. But with Thrawn, what's really cool is he can regenerate protection. So if you're looking at maximizing points on offense, this would be a really great offensive team. But if this was on defense, this would take a very specific team to beat, especially if Thrawn is extremely fast. Remember, it's 3-on-3, so if Thrawn goes first and fractures one of your opponent's characters, their entire, and I mean entire setup is just in trouble because they're probably only bringing in one attacker, and more than likely, they're going to end up getting fractured, or if they have an auto taunter, their tank will be out of commission, and you're going to have to worry now about what their other characters are doing. In addition to that, a lot of the common counters, such as CLS, is kind of a bad thing because it takes a lot of DPS to beat this team. There is the cleanse ability, and Death Trooper dazes on his basics. So this is a huge issue for some of the common counters to this particular team. Now that a lot of people have C-3PO and they've worked on their Ewoks, why not use them either on offense or defense? Now, the key is a Chirpa lead, of course, for all of the turn meter gain. Poplu fast, you want them well over 200 speed because you're going to have them there both as a tank and a turn meter generator. And then Wicket, and what you can do is you can use Wicket to stealth whoever needs to be stealth more, and he's there as your damage dealer. So you got your support, your tank, and your attacker all in one. I would probably suggest these guys on offense, but if they're completely Zetaed out, this would make a disgusting defense team for someone to have to deal with. Now, pretty common team. I think a lot of people are thinking this way. They got a tank, attacker, and another attacker, and two of them are extremely tanky. And Kylo Ren's just very difficult to deal with. Kylo Ren Unmasked is very difficult to deal with, especially as the lead. And then you've got First Order Executioner in there, just making a mess with the opposing team. And the Dispel is going to help significantly to make sure that on defense, these guys are targeting properly. Now, you could use them on offense to go against Scoundrels, another First Order, or you could use them for a great, solid defensive team. Now, of course, this list wouldn't be complete if we didn't have Revan. That's right, a Revan lead. Now, not a lot of people are going to have Revan lead, so I'm going to show you an alternate Jedi squad that you can place in just a second, but this would be your overpowered team. You got someone that can revive and acts like a tank. That's Jolie, because they're going to have to kill him first, and he's super, super tanky, high defense, and is very, very durable. And then you have Yoda just making a mess of the entire place, and so this is going to be an exceptionally strong team. General Kenobi and Bastila are who are removed, and to be honest, those two characters are the 4th and 5th slots that are often messed with. It's normally these three that are kept together, and so I see this definitely as one of the top, if not the top, teams for individuals to build. Now, if you don't have Revan and you're looking for an alternate team to frustrate individuals, you can use this team. Now, if you're going to use this team on defense, I highly suggest putting Old Ben in the leadership position, and this is why. The evasion meta, right? This is going to really frustrate individuals who A, haven't ever experienced it and haven't modded for this, or B, just plumb know what this is and they don't want to deal with the possibility of whiffing every time they try and strike. Now, if you're using this team composition on offense, I would swap Bastila to the leadership position and Old Ben to just the supporting tank. Of course, Old Ben, you want to be really fast. You really want that ability block and turn meter reduction to go off pretty quick. Bastila does not have to be fast at all. And Yoda, you want a lot of special damage, so that way when he hits, he kills what he's hitting. And if they don't have a revive mechanic with this team, they could have RNG go completely against them. We all know how that works. You're trying to kill a team you've killed a million times, and all of a sudden RNG, you go whiff, 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 and you're like, how is this possible? And now you're down 2 people, you've lost. And so this team, I think, is going to be another sleeper of a team that people are going to be able to use on defense to really frustrate the opponents. And at a minimum, it's going to reduce the amount of points they can win on offense, because Yoda is going to be over there just tearing all the protection off of all the team with his constant AoE and his high DPS. And Bastila is going to be priming him up and making him do some massive damage with that armor penetration. Now, Night Sisters had to make the list, and I have a couple variants to talk about, and we'll talk about why we're using these teams, but both are going to include Asajj, and both are going to include your zombie. Now, your zombie's your tank. That's the tank that you're going to use in the 3-person. Mother Talzin's there for the revive because old Daka is not here, but she also does a ton of damage, and she spreads plague, and then Asajj is going to ramp up damage over time. And if you kill somebody and you've lost someone, for example, you've lost Asajj and you kill someone, or you've lost Mother Talzin and then you finish one of those 3 characters off, you're going to get your character back. This is going to help you maximize your points. Now, on offense, yes, you're more than likely going to score lower than if you threw them on defense, because you're probably not going to finish the battle with full protection. But this is a solid offensive composition to chew through many, many, many compositions you're going to see. So this would be a really great offensive strategy. Now, here's the other one. This is the defensive strategy, and Asajj Ventress lead, going to make the team faster, hit harder. You're going to have a tank you have to deal with, and old Doc is going to be there to constantly revive. So this is the revive mechanic for this team, and Asajj is going to keep ramping up her damage. So you've got a damage dealer, a support, revive, and a really annoying tank. For this to truly work on defense very well, you're going to need to have your zombie really fast, okay? And it doesn't really matter, if it's high health protection, just fast. Speed is important with this particular composition on defense. Now, this is one of my new favorites. In fact, the last Grand Arena battle that I did, the team that held the hardest on the last battle was this particular composition. And I didn't have Missions Zeta at the time, and I didn't have Cartho Nassi's Zeta at the time. Now, this is a relatively new composition. You're going to see it out a lot more as these characters become more farmable. Now, I have Karth's Zeta, which is going to help them get health and protection back when they do dots. And of course, Zalbar does dots on basic, and Mission is there to assist. And now I have her Zeta. This is a very durable team with an attacker that goes stealth, with a tank that has retribution and can regenerate health and protection based off of the leadership. And then of course, Karth's there for the leadership and support role. He also doesn't do horrible damage, so he's going to be another character that's going to kind of help along in the 3 versus 3. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have thought about this particular team. It's, of course, the Kira lead with L3, and I personally feel that Nest is going to be the best in this particular scenario. She's one of the, heavier damage dealers that are scoundrels that are going to benefit from the additional offense that Kira provides. L3 is just such an amazing tank and ramps up, and if they don't deal with L3 right away, they're going to have a problem with Nest. And Nest is going to be able to daze, which is a great way to prevent a ton of different counters that are going to be saved for offense. So this is going to be a very frustrating team for them to have to deal with. Now, a lot of people have Phoenix. A lot of people have Phoenix. Pretty much everyone that plays the game should have Phoenix. And you're only using 3 people, and you might not have enough teams to set on defense. So this would be kind of a go-to for defense. You're going to have Hera as the leadership. She can help bring people back with her special. You've got Ezra there as the damage dealer and Kanan as the tank, but he also brings that ability to have retribution and retaliate. You're going to have a dispel in Ezra. And if you Zeta'd any of these, including, Ezra for the damage, or you Zeta'd Kanan, this is actually a solid, very solid team composition to go up against, but definitely I would use it on defense for sure. Now, this team is probably going to be used on offense, but you could set it on defense. And man, if they weren't prepared for this, it would be an absolute slaughter. 3 extremely high DPS and very durable characters. Han Solo being the least durable, but he's got Chewie there to guard him. And of course, Luke is automatically going to be guarded because there's only 3 of them. So both are going to be guarded. They're going to have to go after Chewie. And this is just a ton of DPS to have to deal with on your attack. And if you didn't save, let's say, Night Sisters or something on offense, this could become a very, very difficult to beat. Now, I think a lot of people are pretty, this is obvious that you would want to use Jedi Training Rey with a couple of droids. Extremely good. 2 support droids, both tanky. And if you happened to Zeta the tank or the taunt capability in BB-8, you'd have an actual tank in him. But even so, it doesn't really matter because they're both durable as is Jedi Training Rey. Now, what is really important about her is she puts that health down and she can help just chew through a character one at a time. And with Illuminated Destiny, it's not going to go off nearly as fast because it's a 3-team versus a 5-team. So this isn't going to work quite as well, I think, as people think on defense. But I think this would be a solid team to go against if you were looking at trying to go against one of the Bosk teams or a different Scoundrel team. This would be a solid offensive counter. However, if you notice your opponent doesn't have Jedi Training Rey, this would be one of those teams then you could possibly put on defense and really throw a wrench in their offensive plans. Now, I know a lot of people that have tons of ideas with C-3PO, and there are a ton out there. I'm not going to go into a bunch of different team comps, but another variant resistance team with, of course, Poe and Finn. They're just great together. They can taunt, they can heal, they can cleanse. There's a stun in there. There's the ability, to put exposes and the expose mechanic, and you're really going to rely on the stun and expose with his team. But C-3PO will slowly start to shut the opponent down over time. There's only 3 individuals, so it should be pretty quick to ramp up his special abilities. So this would be a fun variant on offense. You could set it on defense, but I would probably use it for offensive purposes. Now, Rogue One is always a go-to on defense for individuals who don't have quite the GP as other individuals. If you've been playing for a long time, you probably have these 3 at 7-star gear, 8, 9, 10, 11. And Jyn Erso's Zeta, especially with Chirrut and Baze, is extremely durable, very durable, as is Baze and Chirrut. Chirrut can do burst damage, and you can get stuns and some control with Jyn Erso. So this is a solid defensive team for anybody who may not have enough defensive teams to go around, but Chirrut and Baze are also exceptional on offense to ensure you survive the battle. So if you find yourself going against a weaker team, this could be a really great cleanup team or a team to go through and win if you're fighting someone that's a little bit weaker. I don't think there's any question here that Triumvirate is probably one of the top, 3 teams in the entire game. I would put them in the number 2 slot, possibly number 1 slot, especially if you have modded your Traya correctly. This is possibly one of the strongest defenses, if not the strongest. You've got basically a tank that can do massive attack damage. You've got someone who's going to do a countdown and eventually annihilate someone. Now, It sounds super overpowered, but keep in mind, Darth Nihilus really needs more individuals to increase cooldowns so he can decrease his cooldowns. And so 3 versus 3 is going to take him longer to actually get to his annihilate. So on defense, this is going to be a little bit tougher. On offense, it's a great control team. However, it's still very, very difficult to find 3 characters that are going to be able to chew through these 3 durable characters. And if somebody has Zeta'd the uniques of all 3 of these guys, it's going to be an absolute nightmare to go against this team if it's set on defense. And last but not least on this list is Darth Maul lead with Savage and Sith Assassin. And this may not sound like a very good team, and you're thinking, oh, he's a filler defense team. It actually can be used on offense, but it's a really great team on defense, kind of fun. It's another evasion meta type team to set. Sith Assassin can actually hit people straight to health on her special, and then Savage can use his special to just destroy them, no matter how much protection. So this would be a great team on offense to go against if you have a nest on the other side, because you're going to evade enough that you're going to survive, and then when you can hit her under health, don't worry about her stacking protection. Use Savage, kills them. Great offensive team, but if you set this to defense, this is an exceptionally annoying team to have to kill, because Savage is durable and cleanses if you have his Zeta, and Sith Assassin puts herself in stealth, but under Darth Maul, they all go stealth. And even when you try to hit them, they'll evade, and another one will come out of stealth. And then you try and hit them, they'll evade and go stealth, and another one will come out of stealth. And it's like whack-a-mole. It's extremely annoying, and it's very difficult to have full health and full protection after beating this team. So excellent defensive team, but also keep it in mind, it's an excellent team against Akira 3 versus 3 to be able to kill that nest, provided you're able to get through the taunt. So what are your thoughts of Grand Arena 3 versus 3? What are your thoughts of the 20 team compositions? Do you have questions? Do you have other comps you want to suggest? Leave the other comps and questions about the current comps in the comments down below. I hope this helps everybody from free to play to pay to play and everything in between. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.